Good morning, everyone. My name is Stephanie Daniel, and I'm the Senior Managing Editor and a reporter with KUNC, NPR for Northern Colorado. Today, we are going to be talking about Civics Bees, student competitions on how our government and democracy work. We are co-hosting this event with the NPR program 1A, and it's part of the 1A Remaking America project, which is a partnership with 6 public radio stations, including KUNC in Greeley, Colorado. The National Civics Bee is an annual competition that encourages middle school students to engage in civics and contribute to their communities. Similar to a spelling bee, students answer trivia-style questions about how the government is structured and the rules that dictate how it works. The national competition was started here in Colorado. In 2022, the Daniels Fund launched the National Civics Bee in partnership with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation. To hear more about the Civics Bee and the competition, I'm joined by a couple of guests. It is my pleasure to introduce Hannah Skandera. She is the president and CEO of the Daniels Fund, a Denver-based charitable foundation. Sriram Yalavarthi, who goes by Ram. He won the 2023 Colorado Civics Bee as a 7th grader at Drake Middle School in Arvada. And Ram's mom, Prasanna Yalavarthi. Hannah, Ram, Prasanna, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
For those who are watching live on YouTube, feel free to submit comments or questions, and we'll try to answer them during the discussion. This conversation will be available after the fact on 1A and KUNC YouTube pages. So Hannah, let's start with you. Why is civics education important, and why did the Daniels Fund create the National Civics Bee?
Well, it's great to be here today, Stephanie. I'll just say, I don't think it's a secret that, frankly, our country is in a civics crisis. And if our country is going to work, we need informed citizens. And if you look at the data that just recently came out with the nation's report card, only 15% of 8th graders are on grade level or proficient in American history, only 20% when it comes to civics. So we've got a long way to go. And then you kind of explode that and think about all of America. Only 1 in 3 Americans can actually pass the U.S. citizenship test. And 1 in 5 Americans cannot name a single branch of government. And when it comes to our democratic republic, we need informed citizens to be engaged citizens. And so we feel passionately that we want to be a part of equipping young people, this next generation, to be ready to go, not just as informed citizens, but engaged as well.
And how did the partnership with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation come about?
So we had this passion. Our Bill Daniels, our founder, was a true patriot. And so we were looking for ways to get more and more engaged in civics. We launched something called a Big Bet here at the Daniels Fund, where we have a goal of 1 million young people by 2030 really knowing great civics content. We think the Civics Bee is a big piece of that. And so we reached out to the U.S. Chamber Foundation. We knew they also were deeply committed to young people being equipped to be good citizens. And it was just like this perfect match. I mean, the U.S. Chamber Foundation is an amazing partner. And we said, let's do this. And so we started last year in only 5 cities, this year, 54 cities. And, we're headed next year to be in 150 cities in 30 states. So exciting stuff. And they're an amazing partner.
That's great to see how fast it's growing. So let's talk about the National Civics Bee. Why is the bee specifically for middle school students, and what are the different components? How does it work?
So middle school is such that it's a perfect age, and Ram, our champion, can tell us more about that in just a second. But, to get that foundational knowledge. And so we felt like it was the perfect time. And also, if you attend a Civics Bee, you'll see that often parents, teachers, grandparents, they're there in the crowd, and they can actually participate as well. So it's this incredible opportunity for multiple generations to learn together. And then when you say, what's it like? What happens? So to be a part of the Civics Bee, young people in middle school submit an essay about an issue they really care about in their community that they want to solve. And those essays are graded, actually. And if you receive a high grade, then you get to go on to the next competition. That would be ROM. ROM made it to the next competition. And then there's a city Civics Bee that's hosted by the local chamber. And then they have questions. There's usually 10 to 15 young people who are answering basic questions. But let me just be clear. I don't know if you ever watched that show, Are You Smarter Than a Sixth Grader? By the end of this, I was in the audience and I was like, I'm not smarter than a sixth grader, because guess what? These kids, they know their stuff. It is so inspiring. So they go through kind of like a spelling bee, like you said, these questions under pressure. They've got their, their iPad there, and they're answering as they're hearing the question. And so it's a process of elimination. And then when it gets down to the final round, the few young people that are left, we have judges who ask them questions about the issue that they were trying to solve in their community. So the incredible piece that I love about this is yes, you got to know your stuff, and then you got to know how you want to apply your civics data, information to a real issue that's happening today. And that's America, right? Like, know your stuff and then be an engaged citizen.
Hi, Ram. Congratulations on being the first Colorado Civics Bee champion. How did you feel after you won?
Thank you so much. It was very surreal because all the finalists were very talented. So I was very happy to be holding that big check at the ending.
So how did you hear about the Civics Bee and why did you want to participate?
So I got a flyer in my weekly school email about writing an essay to qualify. And I like watching the news and learning about current events. And my favorite class in school is social studies. And the Civics Bee is all about social studies. So I decided to participate.
And as Hannah mentioned, the essay was the first component to as part of the competition. So what was your essay about?
So my essay was about the lack of civility in my community. And yeah, I think it's a very important issue, specifically right now, because our country is divided in so many issues.
That's really interesting. Can you talk a little bit more about what specifically around civility?
So civility is really important because it's the basis of a functional democracy. And we need to have healthy discussions to be able to solve problems, like the problems that we talked about in the Civics Bee. So it connected everything.
So after you submitted the essay and you found out that you had made it on to the next round, how did you study for the trivia portion of it?
So there was a study guide that was put out by the National Civics Bee, and they just listed the topics that we needed to study, and included topics like the Constitution, Supreme Court cases, major events, laws and acts, famous people in the country's history, and branches of our government. And my dad and I spent lots of evenings studying these topics.
Was there anything that you learned that you were like, oh man, that's so cool, I didn't know about that, or that kind of took you by surprise?
Supreme Court cases, they had a big difference. They had a big impact in our country because it changes the course of our history, like Brown v. Board of Education or Marbury versus Madison, those cases.
Nice. So Prasanna, when Ram came to you and said, hey, I want to be a part of this, what did you think?
I thought it was a perfect type of competition for him. He's very interested in politics and just watching the news every day. He's constantly asking us questions about things around us, things that are happening. So I figured the Civics Bee and studying for the Civics Bee would be a great way for him to learn about all these topics that he's so passionate about.
And have you seen it have an impact on him?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's like Hannah said, it's important for all of us to have that civics knowledge just as citizens of our country. And I think just learning more about how all these laws came about, how our government was founded, I think it's definitely changed his perspectives. And when he watches the news or listens to NPR, he loves listening to NPR in the car. He has a context for where those things are coming from. And as Hannah said, at the Chorus Civics Bee parents, I got to play along when they were doing the live quiz show, as did all the other adults in the room. We could play along on our own devices. And I mean, the kids did much better than the adults. So, I mean, that was great to see because, they're just our next generation of leaders. So
I think it's really interesting that Ram chose civility for his essay question. And I think it shows that he's, paying attention to, to what's going on in the world. What are your thoughts on him choosing that topic?
Yeah, the first time he started talking about this, even before the Civics Bee came about, we were just watching actually the State of the Union this past February, where President Biden was delivering a speech. We watch it as a family every year, and one thing our kids noticed this year was there were Congress people just yelling out. In the past, they either clap or sit down or whatever. This time there was a difference. There were people actually yelling out, and our kids commented, "Well, this is different than what we've seen in the past." And that's when we started to talk about just civility and being able to debate topics nicely in a civil manner. Even if you don't agree with somebody, there's a way for you to have that discussion, without having it turn to a yelling match, for example. So I think that's where he started thinking about that. And then when we saw the flyer for the Civics Bee, he thought that would be the perfect topic to write about.
Ron, why do you think it's important for kids like you to participate in the Civics Bee?
I think it's important to study civics so we know how our country was founded, and we need to learn from any mistakes that were made so we can make better decisions in the future.
Wonderful. So, Prasanna, do you have any advice or thoughts on how parents can support their kids who are participating in the Bee?
Yeah, for sure. As Hannah mentioned, the Civics Bee has a very unique format. Our kids have participated in the spelling bee and things like that in the past, but the Civics Bee is a combination of that live quiz program we talked about, but also first to even qualify, you need to write that essay. So, and then at the actual competition, you need to have that civics knowledge. But then when you get to the final round, the kids stand up, present their essay in front of the judges, and they have to be able to think on their feet to answer questions from the judges as well. So I think parents can practice just writing skills, kind of public speaking skills with their kids, in addition to just going through that study guide and learning the actual civics topics. I think another thing that helped Ram especially is he just loves watching the news every day. And as I mentioned, when we're in the car, he likes to listen to NPR. He loves those headlines that come on the hour, every hour. So I think just making that a habit helps as well.
Ron, were you nervous at all when you had to get up and answer the questions?
Yeah, I was very nervous because all the other finalist topics were also very great and they were doing great. So I was like, oh my gosh, what if I mess this up? This is gonna be so bad.
So Hannah, what's next for the National Civics Bee, and how can families get involved?
So Stephanie, as I mentioned, we're super excited because next year, we were in 54 cities this year. Next year, our goal is 150 cities, 30 states, on our way to that national competition. And I mean, the dream is that we're nationally televised and that young people all across America are learning and then engaging in their communities because of this. And just practical things. First of all, if you don't have a Civics Bee in your town, if you have a chamber, go to your chamber and say, will you host a Civics Bee? And as a parent, go to your middle school and say, hey, let's have our kids participate, so that you can have that opportunity to have more students participate. And then also just studying with your son or daughter and preparing them to compete. And I love, as was mentioned, it's not just learning the facts. It's how would you use these facts to create change? And can you talk about it in a way that's compelling? Because that is part of, right? Being engaged is not just knowing your stuff, but then bringing others with you. So that takes practice. Ram, you were awesome, right? That. I thought there's our next mayor or maybe our senator, right? These young people getting up there, presenting their ideas and on fire. Well, that does not, even if you're a natural born speaker, you got to practice. And so, taking that time to practice and be prepared so that you can be wrong and win the state Civics Bee for Colorado.
Thank you. Ram, so the final question is for you, but first I want to ask your mom, Prasanna, anything else you want to add we didn't touch upon?
I'm just glad that this is a competition that kids can participate in now. We have an older daughter who missed out on this opportunity, but then we have a younger son who's in elementary school, and I'm so excited that he gets to do this when he's in middle school. And it was just so nice to see all the kids, even though it was the first year, all the kids who were engaged were excited to participate. So it was awesome.
Right. So Ram, I'm going to wrap up with you. As the reigning Colorado Civics Bee champion, what tips do you have to help students who will be competing in the future? And how did you spend the $1,000 prize money that you won?
So some tips I have for Civics Bee champions in the future is that in the study guide, there's practice questions that are similar to the questions that are asked. So just practice those and then you have it down. And also there's a website, it's called like NAEP, and it has questions, and that helped me a lot too.
Wonderful. And then the prize money.
So my prize money, I opened a youth brokerage account, and I invested all my money in that, and hopefully it goes up in value.
That is awesome. Ram, I am pretty sure we're going to be hearing more about you in the future. So congratulations again on your win. That's amazing. And thank you so much, all of our panelists. Hannah Skandera, President and CEO of the Daniels Fund, Sriram Yalavarthi, the 2023 Colorado Civics Bee champion, and Prasanna Yalavarthi. I appreciate all your time. A recorded version of this event will be available on YouTube soon. This discussion was part of 1A's Remaking America collaboration with 6 partner stations across the country. Remaking America is funded in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.